Hi guys, I'm back. So we talked a little bit about vitamin C rich foods, and we talked about some citrus and also some vegetables being high in vitamin C, and also we talked about potatoes. Although they are high in carb, they do have quite a bit of vitamin C. But what you could do with potatoes, of course, is like I said last time I visited you on Facebook Live, I said that you could cook them and then cool them and eat them the next day. And eating cooked potatoes has got a lot of resistant starch, which helps gut health, helps be friendly to the critters that line the gut. So I do want to make mention of vitamin C supplements. So a lot of people have been flocking to the pharmacy to buy vitamin C, and we do recommend, if you are going to be buying vitamin C, the lipospheric version is the better absorbed version. So you might ask, am I taking vitamin C? Because it's always good to look at what we're doing. And I'll have to say that I've got these in my cupboard, right? I bought them at Christmas time, and they were just sitting in my cupboard. So what I'm doing, I've only got about 8 or 10 left. What I'm doing is I'm sucking one down every day, or 2 or 3, to try and ration myself. What's going to happen when I finish these? Am I going to go out and buy some more? Probably not, because there's enough that I'm going to do to boost my immune system and make sure that it is as robust as possible. The lipospheric is a good version, and I would recommend, if you choose to supplement with vitamin C, which is not a bad idea, to go for these ones. So this is what they look like. Okay, so next I want to talk about some antiviral foods. So there's a range of foods which might not necessarily be supported by the most robust science, but they are still purported to be antiviral or have antiviral properties. And these include things like garlic, and they include things like onions and leeks and broccoli sprouts and shiitake mushrooms, and things like green tea and cinnamon. Also herbs like oregano and thyme. So look, I would not recommend that you go out and eat a cup of thyme or oregano every night. But I think when you are cooking, it might be a good idea to actually maximize the use of these foods. So cook with garlic, cook with onions, cook with thyme, cook with oregano. So at least you know that your meal that you're going to have is going to be kind of super tight in terms of its antiviral foods. And again, even if these things don't necessarily help to ward off things like we'd like them to do, they are, thank you, staples in Italian cooking. Thanks, Neil. But they're also delicious foods, and I think cooking with garlic not only might help us, but it also makes food taste really nice. So I'd recommend those foods that I mentioned. Number 3, I want to talk about natural probiotics. So live yogurt, fermented foods like I talked about last time. Getting back to sauerkraut, we've always got to revisit sauerkraut, and miso soup. So those foods are going to be helpful for our gut, and our gut in turn is going to be helpful to protect the immune system. Again, last time I talked about that bidirectional relationship between the gut and the brain. And it has systemic effects on the reproductive system, on the muscle and joint systems of the body, on the immune system, on the cardiovascular system, on pretty much every system in the body. So really important to look after your gut. 4, I want to talk about some other micronutrients. So I've talked about vitamin C, but I also want to talk about vitamins A, C, E, and selenium. So that is the combination of antioxidants, and we've talked about C, so I want to mention A. Vitamin A comes from mainly animal foods. It also, so fatty fish included, and also one of my favorite foods, which most people hate. No, I wouldn't say it's my favorite food, but I like it. Liver. So this has been sitting in my freezer, and I might, now that it's out of the freezer, I'm going to have it this weekend. These are chicken livers. And I'll just give you a really, really nice recipe. Don't knock it before you try it. So chop some of these up, throw it in the pan with some onions, so some nice antiviral onions. Throw little bits of bacon in there if you like the smoky flavor. Put some cream in there, mix it up, cook it really well, and then once it's been cooking and simmering for a while, you can throw some thyme in as well. That would be really nice. Just before you take it off, you can just put a dash of balsamic vinegar, and it's delicious. So give this a go. Lots of vitamin A from your liver, and liver is also a great source of other nutrients like iron and zinc, and many more. So there you go. Vitamin D again comes from animal foods, but your best bet is to get into the sun, because the sun interacts with your the vitamin D in its non-bioavailable form in the body, and it activates it to make it bioavailable. So getting in the sun is really important, and it's particularly important for us in the southern hemisphere at the moment, because we are heading into winter, and we want to make sure that we get as much vitamin D to make sure that our stores are as high as possible to help us ward off our winter ills. So very, very important for the people coming into summer. Of course, now's the time to get into the sun. ACE, so vitamin E is another antioxidant, rich in nuts and seeds. I would recommend getting vitamin E from whole seeds rather than seed oils, because with that becomes a whole lot of processing and a whole lot of omega-6, and potentially that can be quite inflammatory in the body. What else do we have? We have selenium. Selenium is another antioxidant, and we find it in a range of foods, but just 2 Brazil nuts a day will give us our daily intake of selenium. So very easy to get that in. Next, we've got zinc. Now, zinc it's one of those nutrients that's more well known, a little bit like vitamin C, for being antiviral and to help protect against colds and flu and decrease symptoms when we get it. Best source of zinc, again, you can't get away from animal foods. Meat. So 100 grams of beef contains 4.8 milligrams of zinc, and that is almost half of your daily intake or your daily requirements of zinc. Shellfish is really high in zinc. In fact, if you eat 6 medium-sized oysters, I don't have any with me to show you, that gives you 32 milligrams of zinc, and that gives you almost 300% of your daily value. So in other words, two oysters would sort you out for your zinc, which is good because they're quite expensive, so you only really need 2. Hemp seeds, surprisingly. Here are my hemp seeds. I love my hemp seeds, putting them on things like salads and yogurt, and various other things in smoothies. 3 tablespoons of hemp seeds gives you between about 31 and 43% of your recommended intake. So again, that's another way to boost your zinc intake. You can also find zinc in things like legumes and nuts and seeds and dairy and eggs. Another one which you'll be excited about is dark chocolate. Dark chocolate, so this is 100 grams of dark chocolate, and that will give you between 70 and 85%. Dark chocolate that has 70 to 85% cocoa, so the really dark one, contains about 3.3 milligrams of zinc, which is about a third of your daily intake. Just a little warning, 100 grams is this whole thing. So don't rely on eating a whole bar of chocolate for your zinc intake. Perhaps have some oysters and then a couple of pieces of your chocolate. But if you are going to have chocolate, especially as Easter's coming, go for the dark variety for some extra zinc. And I will say that for those people who are tempted to supplement and have and take extra zinc, word has it is that zinc lozenges are the better way to go than actual tablets. Okay, I want to finish by saying that, of course, food and diet is incredibly important, but again, the whole is more than the sum of the parts, particularly when it comes to the immune system. So diet is incredibly important, but it goes very much hand in hand with other lifestyle factors, as you would well know. So sleep is one, which is really important. So try and get your 8 hours sleep. Matthew Walker has written a book called Why We Sleep, and in his book he suggests that we should wake up to our natural cues and not use an alarm clock, which is interesting because when I read the book, I thought, well, I'll never be able to do that apart from the weekend. And now here's an opportunity to do just that. So I don't use my alarm clock anymore, and I wake up to my natural cues, and I'm getting that little bit more sleep, which is absolutely doing wonders and is going to be really important to contribute to a very strong immune system. Regular exercise is the next one. I would like to say don't go too crazy on exercise, because that can have the opposite effect and dampen down the immune system. So you want to do some strength, and literally you can do a lot with your body weight just on your lounge floor. You want to do some endurance, and what I mean by endurance is you want to work your cardiovascular and lung system and fitness. So some brisk walking, some running, some biking if you are allowed to, wherever your country is, whatever lockdown rules you have, just work within those constraints. So there's strength, there's cardiovascular fitness from endurance, and there's also stretching. Stretching, whether it's yoga or whatever you call it, stretching is really good for both physical health and also for your mental health. And I know a lot of people put off stretching because they don't have enough time, or they say they don't have enough time, and I would say now's the time to do some stretching and complement your kind of range of exercise from strength to cardiovascular fitness endurance, underpinned by some good stretching. Next one is relationships. Nurturing relationships in a non-contact way is really, really important to keep you buoyed up and keep you happy. So it can be Facebook Lives, it can be Zooming, it can be Skyping, it can be Facebooking, it can be drinks over the fence with your neighbors at a distance. So whatever it is that you can do, definitely do that. Okay, I want to just finish and talk about stress, because that is the thing that underpins everything, and whatever you do is going to be relevant for you. So find that thing every day that kind of grounds you, and it might be going for a walk, it might be going for a run, it might be doing some stretches, it might be some candles, meditation, deep belly breathing, watching some Netflix. I don't know. But just find it. Just find that thing every day that sort of brings you down to that level of kind of de-stress as much as you can in these situations. So again, the whole is more than the sum of the parts. So have a nutrient-rich whole food diet. Make sure that your blood sugar is nice and even. Make sure that you are eating to prevent chronic disease, and we know how to do that. Make sure that you partner that with all these other healthy behaviors. And by doing that, you should be in the best possible shape to prevent this thing from getting you, or from being able to fight it off in the best possible position. Keep up the great work. Enjoy the challenge. Take care. Stay safe. And we'll talk to you again soon. Bye.